patriarchal way of sex, right? So it's all about the man, like giving pleasure to the man. So the woman has been ignored for so many years, and there's a resentment even in opening up because you haven't been taught to properly care for your body or invite somebody into your body. You're just doing what you've been told.
Why is there so much shame then around our own sexual embodiment and essence and energy and expression for men and women? What is it that we are so disconnected from it and we're scared to just to show it?
Man, that's a really multifaceted question. What we're seeing currently in this time is a lot of repercussion of oppression and suppression of sex through religion. You know, lots of religions telling you don't do this, you know, abstinence is the way, or even like in the priesthood, they don't, you know, they're not sexual. And so what happens is there's this very natural energy inside of you wanting to express itself, but everyone or the structures around you are saying, no, 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 that's bad, that's bad.
You're going to go to hell if you have sex.
Yeah.
Literally damnation.
Yeah.
You're going to hell. And that, regardless of whether you're religious or not, the entire society is built on this structure. So your whole life, whether that was in your family or your friends or your teachers or whatever, if that belief is around you, you have it inside of you.
And even like in schools, you know, and this is still going on today, the sex education is so scary, you know? It's like, have sex and get AIDS, have sex and get someone pregnant. You don't even have to, you could just barely touch a woman and she's pregnant, you know, like all of the disease, you know, abstinence, all that stuff. There's no talk about how does a woman's body work? Are there natural methods to prevent birth? Are there ways to connect that aren't harmful to yourself and to others? Is this a way to enjoy yourself? Is this something that you could practice with another human being in a way that's respectful and divine? And that doesn't end in pain, suffering, disease, all that kind of stuff. You know, we're getting it from church, we're getting it from school, we're getting it from our parents, who oftentimes had us unintentionally and are like trying to not let that happen to you. And maybe it's coming from a good place, but there's a lot of pressure, right? But before you even get to sex. So you're already like, oh, you know, I really want to do this thing, but
Yeah.
There's also this whole thing of like the patriarchal way of sex, right? So it's all about the man, like giving pleasure to the man. So the woman has been ignored for so many years, and there's a resentment even in opening up because you haven't been taught to properly care for your body or invite somebody into your body. You're just doing what you've been told. So a lot of that sexual education that wasn't taught for women has taught women to shut down and cause trauma and not tap into their pleasure. And when you tap into that as a woman, the second chakra, so that's the one that's related to sexuality, is also creativity. So you're shutting down your creativity by not tapping into your sexuality. So there's so much that's wrapped up in sexuality that's not ever talked about. So there needs to be an empowerment and a liberation, especially when it comes to women and sex, because we are such powerful creators and we bring people together and we bring communities together. And women have been so disconnected from themselves and sexuality for thousands of years.
I say that firsthand. It's the consciousness around sex is the man is dominant, the woman pleasing the man, and there's no sensuality, there's no true intimacy. It's pornographic in many ways, right? With that model in mind.
Transactional. Like ownership of sorts, like especially getting into marriage and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your duty. Like I come home from a long day's work and like you're mine.
Right.
And I'm talking about from my own personal experience, you have, when you first have sex, you have the idea of like, oh, you're supposed to do that for them. You are never taught, wait until your body's ready. Wait until somebody asks you for permission. It wasn't until our relationship that somebody asked permission to go into my body, and I cried when it happened. My body relaxed when that happened because I had never been asked my entire life, and I had never demanded that of someone. I
Right.
never required somebody to ask me if I was ready because I wasn't taught that that was a thing.
Yeah, you don't even know it's a possibility. It's like, so it's way over here in the ether somewhere and nobody's talking about it.
One of the most beautiful moments I've ever had sexually is when I stopped and I actually spoke that, hey, maybe I just need to lay down and have a sensual touch and feel. And it took so long for me to feel like my body was actually then ready. And can you believe most of my life, I never spoke up for my own body and saying that it's ready. Instead, it was transaction. I go, oh, well, it's time for sex. It must be ready. We never connect ourselves with the body. And what a moment that was, because I'll tell you, in that moment, it was a beautiful, like, sensual massage. And then I go, and this was with my girlfriend, I go, if she puts her hand back on my chest, something's gonna happen. And because she was like rubbing on my stomach, she went back on my chest, boom, 20 seconds of tears just came out of nowhere. And I felt that my body was like opening with those tears. And then it's like, okay, now you're ready to have sex. And I was like, I can't believe that me as a man, and I guarantee so many women in this world, are never just open to receiving. It's so just forced in transaction.
Also, for men, there's this idea that, you know, they're supposed to be hard all the time, and they're not taught to look into their own sensuality, because sex is so much more than just penetration. You can make love with your entire body before even going into anything. You know, so just looking at each other and breathing into each other and touching and caressing and discovering what feels good before that's even a thing. You know, elongating that is actually a part of Tantra, because it allows you to tap into your body before you're connecting to another.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast and there was a sex therapist saying that on average it's within like 5 minutes there's penetration between like, okay, let's be intimate now, within 5 minutes, whereas like creating the space and the sensual atmosphere for your body to go,
There's so much pressure for that to happen. It's
So
like,
much
it's
pressure.
all about that. And if that goes wrong, then sex is bad.
Right.
It was terrible. We had a terrible experience.
And too, I think it speaks to a general culture of, I want it now, I want everything quick, I want it to like move along. Just slowing down and being with a person, right? It's like, why are you, if this is the best thing in your life, why do you only want it to last 7 minutes or 3.5 minutes or whatever? If this truly is this amazing experience, why wouldn't you want it to last 30 minutes or an hour or 4 hours or all day? Like, these are all possibilities, but because we're moving so quickly through our lives, we're trying to get the goal instead of really being in the journey, which is where all the magic is at, right? It's like the experience of sex.
And you know,
Not just to, like, you know, another hash on your little list or like, you know,
it's
check off
Wednesday,
the
we had
to-do
sex.
list.
All right, I want to talk about Athletic Greens. I've been using it for about 4 months now. It's my favorite green drink of all time. And I've been having green drinks since they just taste like juiced grass. And Athletic Greens doesn't taste like it's super healthy, but it is. It's got a mild tropical taste, some pineapple leaf flavors, you'll get some hints of vanilla, but it's delicious. Now, I want to really quickly address, a lot of people ask me about the natural flavors. The natural flavors are not synthetic. They're not chemically derived. They're coming from pineapple and vanilla. It can't be labeled as pineapple natural flavor or vanilla natural flavor, but it's labeled as natural flavors, but that's where it comes from. I just wanted to give you all that information. About Athletic Greens, what is this stuff? Well, it's a green powder with 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. It's a great formula that feeds different parts of your body. Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, no artificial anything, and it tastes good. So it's gonna help support better sleep quality and recovery, but also during the day, mental clarity, focus, and alertness. AG1 is a small micro habit every single day that has big benefits over time. It's one of the things you can do every day to take great care of yourself. Now, I only partner with brands that I truly believe in. You already know this. Athletic Greens is one of them. They're a great company, and they're focused on sustainability. For one, they're a climate neutral certified company. In 2020, they purchased carbon credits that supports projects protecting old growth rainforests. Additionally, for every purchase, they donate to organizations helping to get nutritious food to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the United States, And in 2020, AG donated over 1.2 million meals to kids. So right now, this is the most important time to reclaim your health. We went through 2 years of high amounts of stress, social isolation, no community, poor health. Here's the time to rebuild it and get back to who you are. Now, daily nutrition is so important. It's one of the pillars of health. So I want you to check out Athletic Greens, which I use every morning. Now, to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. And all you got to do is visit athleticgreens.com/heal-thyself. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/heal-thyself to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. One of the most important steps you can take in bolstering your immune system is getting quality sleep, right? I did a whole show talking about the importance of sleep and how it affects our immune system. Ned is a partner. It's extremely helpful in achieving a great night of sleep. Now, they have a best-selling sleep blend, and it's new and improved in offering an even greater night's sleep. So, the new formulation blends CBN. It's a powerful cannabinoid that promotes sleep with 750 milligrams of USDA-certified organic CBD. It's the purest single-source hemp flower extract out there, and organic wild-crafted botanicals that are traditionally used for sleep. Now, the sleep blend has 24% more sleep-inducing botanicals by weight than the previous version. As always, all of Ned's full-spectrum hemp oil is extracted from USDA-certified organic hemp plants. Now, it's grown by Jonathan, an independent farmer, and his family in Paonia, Colorado. These products are science-backed and nature-backed solutions to offer better health. They're chock full of premium CBD and full spectrum of active cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, and trichomes. All of these constituents that you need, not only for better sleep, but better overall health. Remember, we have an internal endocannabinoid system, and these constituents are recognized by the body to optimize functional support for stress, sleep, inflammation, and balance. Now, Ned is fully transparent and shares third-party lab reports with who farms their products, their extraction process, all of their numbers on everything as far as purity and efficacy, right on the website. So if you'd like to give Ned a try, Heal Thyself listeners get 15% off of Ned products with the code DRG. Visit helloned.com/DRG to get full access. That's HELLONED.com/DRG. You're going to get 15% off of your purchase. As always, thank you, Ned, for sponsoring the show and offering our listeners a natural remedy for some of life's most common health issues. Now, March is Ned's birthday month, but they're extending this special offer to the month of April. If you'd like to give their new and improved sleep blend a try, Heal Thyself listeners are going to get 21% off with the code DRG for the month of March only. It's their best offer of the year. Visit helloned.com/DRG to get access. That's HELLONED.com/DRG. You're going to get 21% off. And as always, thank you, Ned, for sponsoring the show and offering our listeners a natural remedy for some of life's most common health issues.
Yeah.
A lot of the things, I think people rush into that, just like you just said, I feel like there's such a need to feel good because we don't feel good so much of the time that an orgasm is like, okay, I feel good again. You know, it's like a quick fix to releasing all of that stuff. But if you're doing the work to release the bad stuff throughout the day, then there's no need to have that quick release.
Right.
And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't check in with their body throughout the day and say like, oh, I need a break. I need to sit down. I need to breathe. You know, whatever it is, however you need to relax.
And I don't think most people realize that they're in that place in their lives. They don't realize that they're treading water, almost drowning, with just barely breathing above the surface, you know? And there's such a difference between survival and then thriving. And most people are really caught in survival. And this goes back to, you know, something you said earlier about what we do. I think, you know, at the root of what we're doing, we're showing people that there is a root, there is a cause of why you're stuck in that survival. Everyone has one. Well, you know, it's like if you touch a hot stove, right? What are you not going to do again? You're not, right? Exactly. So somewhere in your life, you touched a hot stove, whether it was your parents yelling at you, or whether it was having an alcoholic dad, or getting bullied at school, or what, you know, being molested, any of those kinds of things. and it hurts so bad, you never want to feel that pain again. And so because our bodies are actually quite brilliant and they protect us whether we want them to or not, you stay away from that hot stove.
Or anything that feels like
or
the hot
anything
stove.
that
Anything
even resembles it, right? And so your body creates this mechanism to protect you. And it does a really fantastic job helping you survive in life. But then there comes a point where it's limiting you from learning how to thrive. And so I think that's where our work is focused, is like, okay, we've got this person stuck in this loop and they don't know how to get out of it and they can't see it. So how do we help them identify that, understand what's happening in their body, and give them the tools to move past it? Because it's a very scary thing. Like you said, it's almost like a rebirth, right? It's like you're leaving your whole self behind and you're birthing into this new way of existing, this new way of being. Not just how you have sex, how do you eat food, how do you work, how do you, provide for yourself, how are you as a son, a brother, a father, all of these things. They all have to be reevaluated because you're now coming into a more conscious existence. You're not being driven by your animalistic impulses or your survival mechanisms. You are now consciously creating what life looks like to you.
Which is a lot of responsibility and very scary to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So sometimes the survival is more familiar.
Yeah.
And our identity is sometimes wrapped in the survival. Like, oh, I don't go into these type of relationships because it smells and sounds a lot like the pain that happened when I was 7 years old.
Exactly.
But I always think the barrier to entry to your true conscious embodiment is you going, all right, I'm ready to look at all those things that don't serve me anymore, which are scary. Sometimes so scary that I feel that people overwork, oversex, overeat, over everything just to literally run away and not look at that.
Yeah. There's a loop of the fears and then going into pleasure to relieve that. So that's like whatever you find pleasurable. That's why there's so many different ways that people manifest escapism, which is very common in our society, whether it's through food or sex or whatever. You feel your fear, you feel that thing that you don't want to face, you feel that the hot stove, right? And then you go into escapism. It's like, I don't want to face that.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's so simple, but it's such a deeply ingrained path in your mind that you just go straight into it.
And
what we do,
well-intentioned too. It's like why wouldn't you want to not touch the stove again? Like it was the worst thing that ever happened to you. Of course you're going to avoid it. But what we missed along the way somewhere is that there's a whole other side of life. And I think they speak to this, like if you look at the religions, there's always talk about dying and being reborn and stuff. But I don't think it's a physical thing. I think it's a spiritual and a mental thing, and it's a thing that happens within us where, let's say that survival self is the you that was born into this world. You have to kill that self in order to birth the conscious self of you that's going to live from here on out. And that's a very scary process. Like, how do you just tell someone, like, you have to unbecome everything that you know? You know, it's like, it's a pretty daunting task, right? Where do I start? What do I do?
And you're like, I only know how to be, do, and have and say these things. Literally 30 plus, 40 plus years of my life has been as such, which is really crazy.
We're asking people to walk a tightrope, basically, when they come to see us. But the people that come to see us have done so many things to heal, and they still haven't found that thing. They're still like, there's that pit. They're looking and they're searching and they haven't found the thing to heal it. And it's really what we're doing is we're putting a mirror in front of them and it's like, here, this is you. And this is all the bullshit you tell yourself.
And I think at the end of the day, people are actually pretty incredible. People are so resourceful. People are such hustlers. People are so smart if they know what game they're playing. We say sometimes, like, people are playing basketball with a tennis racket and they don't know any better. Like, that's just kind of what we were taught. But when you tell people the rules of the game, like, hey, Christian, this is what's going on with you. This is what happened and this is how you get out of it. People are actually pretty great at doing it.
Yeah.
You know, but they have to understand the rules of the game they're playing. And I don't know why, you know, we teach US history, we teach, you know, all these like sort of things that we don't necessarily ever use in our lives.
Like
why
trigonometry?
Yeah, right? It's like,
I have never used that after that class ever again.
right? And they're like, you won't always have calculators with you, but now we have everything
Lies.
on it. Right? It's all on our phones. We can Google anything. Like, and so there's space now to do some investigation into how do we be humans? What does it mean to be a human being? How do we satisfy this itch that's inside of us that there's something greater?
And everyone, we all feel it. Like sometimes I think the healthier we get, the more we feel it. You know, it's like there's so many people in the health field who are like, you know, I do all the things that I'm supposed to do. I even got an air purifier for my home. I go, great, I love environmental toxins. But there's always an itch in it, and it's much, much, much deeper. And I really, really, truly think it has to do with looking at the things that don't serve you, that are not you, and then, like you said, moving from survival, dying, shedding that part of you, and stepping into the conscious man and woman, or however part of you that needs to be expressed. And part of the work that I did with you is because I felt, at least intimately, that there was a pit, there was something, there was a. You know, I know all the things to do. I got it all in my books and all in my notes and everything. But I felt so disconnected, especially from partnership. And something that I learned was getting into the body. But really, like practices that can get into the body that don't require me to sit for an hour and a half in meditation when I'm like, oh, you know, I have all these things to do, the doing, but the being. And how many people come through your doors? And how many times do you see people so in this doing energy? I remember, John, it was you who said that, like, I am a master at doing. I've created all the success. But the being, I'm like a child just learning how to walk. And I'm like, if that ain't the truest damn statement I've ever heard in my life, how many people are coming through your doors saying, and not even knowing how to be? And if so, how do we come back to being?
I would say almost all of them.
Yeah.
On a sliding scale. Right? It's like different manifestations of that. And sometimes it's even harder when people are really hyper successful in one area of their life because there's so much accolade for that. It's like, oh, you're so great at this, or you're so famous, or you're so this or that. And we see a lot of that. And it can sometimes make it an even harder wall to tear down because it's like, that's not you. It's a piece of you, and like it's great that you're good at that thing, but oftentimes, like we said before, it's coming from that insecurity or that fear or that trying to escape that dreadful feeling. But there's no gold at the end of that rainbow.
There's a very
know?
big imbalance that makes you be like that. So we want to bring you back into balance and really face those things so you can be a master at both. A being and doing.
Exactly.
And that's
balance.
Yeah, that's the union in Tantra, is the masculine energy of doing and the feminine energy of being, and combining that, because that's within all of us.
I think you see that play out sometimes, like kind of that toxic masculinity that's always just like pressing and pushing and to a point where it's hurting people around it. But then there's also like the toxic feminine of like, you know, getting the inspirations and then staying quiet about it and not doing anything, and just letting those gifts and those inspirations just die with you, right? Les Brown has this amazing thing where he says, the worst thing that could happen in your life is if you meet the person you could have become on your deathbed and you're not that person, right? All those dreams, that book you wanted to write, that show you wanted to produce, all that stuff, they die with you. Yeah. And so we're kind of pegged out on both ends of the spectrum. And like in nature is balance. Like the sun comes up, the sun goes down. The waves come in, the waves go out. It's this constant sort of shuffling of energies. And when things go bad is when we get out of balance with life. And I'm sure you know probably more than we do, about the body and how the body works and keeping your chemicals in balance and how do you do that in a healthy way. And we think that finding this root cause and working through it is at the root of that. It's the primary thing that you can work on. And all of the other stuff are just like a fine tuning, right?
Right.
We have this amazing machine. So what's the biggest thing we can do to get it on track? And then how do we fine tune along the way? And of course, diet comes into play, air quality comes in. We have air purifier, we love all that stuff.
For sure.
But that thing in the pit of your stomach, like you said, like that, we got to get to that first.
Yeah. So that's the foundation of what makes you you. If you look at the chakra system, the first one is all about survival. So everything else in your life, the root of it is survival. So what have you built in your life to protect you, and how is that stopping you from thriving? So we have to discover that, and then we move up into sexuality, which opens you up to a whole world of creativity and pleasure. And then you build up from there. But the first thing and the hardest step to move through is that survival.
Right, because we've all adapted with some sort of mechanism to survive.
And it's our innate human condition, and for the species in general, to survive. If there is no you, if you are dead, like there's nothing. So your body will fight to keep you alive in whatever way it thinks it should keep you alive. So anything that feels threatening, it goes into that mode.
Even if it's not real anymore.
Even if it's not real.
Which is crazy.
And at some point it ceases to become real a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's just like this looming shadow on the wall that you're constantly cowering from and not standing in your power.
We are the only species that has literally gotten out of the food chain. Like there's no lions or tigers chasing us, but that fear is still there. And that fear right now has turned into stress, into somebody's gonna fire me and I'm gonna lose my job and that's my stability. Whatever that fear is has become that thing that you think you're gonna die from, but we're no longer gonna die from it. So when you realize that, and when you can put a pause in between that fear and your way of being, that's when the magic starts to happen. That's when you start to out-evolve this mechanism.
And then I think about, like, if you look around, how many amazing things have humans done? Like we were just on a trip and like we were watching one of our shows on the iPad, and I just looked at it and it's this big and it's in 4K and it's so fancy and it's like, there was Wi-Fi and there's all these things, these luxuries that we have. Humans are so incredible. Could you imagine flipping on that light switch and more humans? And then leading through inspiration and through feeling good and through positivity, what would we create? Like, it's just going to be limitless. Like, we're such an amazing species. We just have to take that energy and point it in a positive direction.
I know you heard me talk about NuZest plant-based protein powder before. NuZest is a constant recommendation at Heal Thyself, and I'll tell you why. Other protein powders are not fully tested nor transparent, you know this. And it's a huge, huge field with a lot of saturation. NuZest regularly tests for gluten, dairy, soy, heavy metals, and all the other ingredients I normally tell you to stay away from. The company shares their independent testing results with everyone. They provide documents for all of their products, their whole line, and it's important, as always, to know what you're getting in your body, especially if you're putting it in your body every single day or giving it to your kids. Protein powders are great as they provide building blocks for vitality and support of muscle health. Now, NuZest is easy on the stomach and highly digestible with none of the common allergens that affect us when we take protein powders. Whether I review protein powders, NuZest constantly makes the top 3. The peas that they use are grown in northern France and processed in Belgium. They use a patented water-based technology, making NuZest one of the highest grade proteins out there, period. So for all the lovely Heal Thyself listeners, we got a NuZest promotion. You get 20% off of NuZest products by going to nuzest.us/healthyself. That's nuzest.us/healthyself. Or you can go on the website and just use the coupon code Heal Thyself for the same 20% off.
Lead from love and creativity and inspiration rather than fear.
Oh my God, so many of us are in fear. I feel it. You can even, the more you open up, the more it's sort of like a bane of existence. Your heart opens and then you see, oh my God, this is fear. This person's in fear.
I'm gonna lose
They need more. Yeah, they need more. They need more. How does that inherent survival mechanism block our experience with true sex and sexuality?
Well, you're not present. If you're in fear, you're up here. You're like constantly thinking or judging or doing whatever, and you're not experiencing what your body's going through. So what we usually tell our clients is when you find yourself thinking, how can you tap into what your body's feeling, right? Is there a contraction somewhere? Are you feeling vibration somewhere? Just go into that feeling and breathe into it. And that sounds so simple, but it takes you from the thinking brain to the feeling body. And the body is always present. If you're in your mind, you could be in the past, you could be in the future, you're just not here. But if you're in your body, with the experiences in your body, you're there, you're connected, first to yourself, and then you can connect to your partner.
Which is it's so encouraging to think that, wait a minute, if we're in bed or wherever we are together intimately, you mean to tell me I could just stop, get out of my head, breathe into my body, and I'll feel better? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's so much, it sounds simple, but it's sometimes so hard.
Well, it's like the primary question is, why don't I want to be here? Right? What am I trying to escape? And that is just like pulling the thread on the yarn, and you just keep pulling, and you just keep pulling, and theoretically, this could be something that you could change overnight. But for us, it's taken us a lot of intention, a lot of work, a lot of seeking. You know, we have our own teachers, and we do our own. We're constantly seeking and wanting to refine things, but it's so simple, but it's not easy, right? The concept is simple, but just by asking that question, it's like, oh wow, there's a lot of things I have to look at.
Yeah.
Right? It's Pandora's box opens up.
I was just talking to him this morning, and I'm like, I feel like we've been doing this for so long, for so many years now, and you just keep dropping levels of depth. You're doing the exact same thing. You're still trying to be as present as possible and you're doing the same process, but I feel like just recently, after giving birth, I feel like I get it. It's like I understand what that word. I knew the concept, I knew it intellectually, but I'm feeling it in a different way. And
living it. I think that's the big thing is when you start out, it's a concept. It's like it's somewhere in the future. It's like, oh, you could have this, right? But as you're practicing, as you're embodying that, you start to look around and say, oh, this is my life.
Yeah.
I'm 95% of the time really joyful and really happy. You know, I feel like people look at us like we're crazy sometimes because we're laughing and we're dancing at the airport and our son's cackling and like he's not crying on the plane and he's having a good time.
As we missed our flight and we were there for like 6 extra hours.
Yeah. Right. You know, just sort of rolling with it like, okay, this happened. How can we be in this moment? How can we be in this moment? How can we show up?
And what's the lesson? It's like there's always a lesson, right? You're seeing everything as divine. So what is the divine lesson in this moment? What can we get from this moment that will bring that joyfulness?
Yeah.
So bring that darkness and transmute it into the light.
Yeah, however it shows up. One of my favorite quotes is, it was in Conversations with God, and it's, the question is always, who am I choosing to be in this moment, right? So if you miss a flight and you have to stay within 6 hours, who am I choosing to be in this moment for 6 hours?
Yeah.
You know, and it seems to me that there's ways it can go. It can go, we missed our flight and I'm angry, and who am I gonna blame? I'm gonna blame me and I'm gonna blame you. Versus like, let's just be with each other in this experience.
Yeah, and if you tap into that negative energy, more bad stuff tends to happen because you're attracting more of that energy. Yeah. Our entire world is made of vibration. So are you down here or are you up here? And it's your choice. It's not that you get stuck here because of a circumstance, it's that you choose to stay there because of a circumstance.
I think we've outsourced a lot of our power, you know, whether it's to praying to this God or going to get your coffee or doing this thing or this thing. It's all outside of you. But as you start to tap into who you really are and who you're choosing to be in that moment, you realize the power in that.
Yeah.
There's this infinite power in who you can be. You know, you're not just this scared animal, right? That's like the very first level. That's what we're born into. And that by default, everyone's that. But once you realize you don't have to be that and you can make a different choice, it's so empowering. It's a little scary. It's daunting. It's like
no one's coming to save you. You have to save yourself.
Exactly. And that's a lot of accountability.
Right.
And we're in a society where I don't think people love accountability all the time.
We
right?
want the easy button.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who can I point to first?
Yeah, don't tell me this is my fault, because that means then I have to look at myself and change something.
Or let me do this drug, or let me do this thing so I can experience that. And then I can always come back to that. But you don't learn how to do that on your own. And don't get me wrong, plant medicine is beautiful and it's such an amazing experience to go into the realm of what you can be. But how do you get there?
Yeah.
you have the power within yourself to get there. And I feel like a lot of what we've learned through this work is how to do that, how to walk the path, how to not just see it, but get there every time. And it takes some practice, but it's a beautiful, beautiful life. We learn to enjoy life for what it brings and not punish ourselves when things are going wrong or blame it on other people or have a miserable day. You know?
So what are some of the tips for people listening and viewing then who go, okay, how do I get started with moving out of that animalistic survival mechanism? What things can I do in my day, starting when I wake up, to really start coming to save my own self? And whether it's the daunting path or whatever, I'm ready. What tips can we give those people?
I'm going to give you the easiest answer, and that's your breath, right?
The breath.
Again, the breath is always present, and it's the one thing in your body you can control completely. Is either involuntary or voluntary, right? So when you get in control of that, you can tap into your body. So the breath we taught you and we teach all of our clients is you deep belly breathe. So you inhale into your belly with one breath, and in the same breath, you bring it up into your chest. So you're inhaling into your entire lung capacity, and then, and that sounds simple, right? But when you're holding on to things, a lot of those things come up. You get an image, or you get a feeling, or something comes up that you're like, oh, I need to look at that. So that's a way to tap into your body. So when you do that deep belly breath, so breathing downwards, breathing up, and then releasing.
And I feel like I want to make a disclaimer that this is not like toxic positivity, like, oh, just breathe and stuff. Because I get so annoyed with that sometimes. I think I've always been annoyed when people don't tell me why, right? And it's just like, okay, breathe. What does breathing mean to people? Like, then, like, I breathe all the time. Like, why are you telling me to breathe? But, okay, scientifically, the psoas system in the belly locks up, like you know, if I'm going to punch you in the stomach, right, you brace it, and what does that do? It takes away the impact. It makes it hurt less. So we're walking around, you know, usually, exactly, and posture, right? Well, what do people do? They roll their shoulders. What is that doing? It's protecting their heart. So the two main places we see are right here and here. Guess what? That breath is going to touch those two places. So if you have this tight system here and you let, my belly's not that big, but you know, you let it come out and be kind of a Buddha belly, and you'll feel it. You know, when you do this stuff at home, you'll feel, oh wow, I'm always tight like this.
Most people come in and are like, oh, I have no tension, I'm cool, I'm chill. And when we start breathing like that, their entire body goes crazy. Their whole, you start tightening up in different parts.
And feeling crazy and all that stuff. But what's happening is there's nerve plexi, I don't know what the plural is, that go along the vagus nerve. And so this system right here is triggering you into fight or flight. What's the first thing that happens if someone's going to punch you or there's a fight or there's danger? Your core tenses so you can run, duck, hide, you know, do whatever you need to do. But when you loosen that, it instantly sends a signal to your body through the vagus nerves, hey, we're okay. You can chill out. You know, you can relax. And what happens is the body starts to create different chemicals. Right? You're putting your body at homeostasis, and now this beautiful machine that we have can start doing what it's good at doing, which is healing thyself, right? That's the whole name of the game. How can you get out of your way and let your body do what it's good at? So what like she was saying, first thing when you wake up, when you go to bed, right? How can you take yourself out of that heightened state, that fight or flight, into a calm state?
Because, or when you're going through something throughout the day, if you tap into that breath, if you're going crazy, how can you relax your body so you can tell your body, hey, I'm okay. I know I'm going crazy up here, but you're okay, you're safe. And if you tell your body that it's safe, it can relax and you think differently. You come up with different solutions to things if you're not stressed out.
Which is so powerful.
It's so powerful. And this is something that you can take. We're out in the parking lot waiting for you to get here, and I'm breathing like that. You know, not because I'm scared or anything, but because sometimes when you do things like this, you feel a bit of that nervousness or that anxiety. It's very natural. But okay, how do I calm my body down? How do I get into this moment? right? That way, when you walk in that door and we can connect because I'm already there in that moment with you because I'm in that moment with myself, right? And so we're constantly prepared for the moment. And when you do that, your entire life changes. Less arguments, less anger down the 405. You know, all of these things that keep us like this, they start to fade away.
And that's literally just getting back in your body.
Getting back in your body.
Yeah.
And talking to your body. You know, talking to the different parts when they're tense. It's like, why are you like that? And you hear an answer. I know we taught you that. Yeah. And it's like, it's amazing because your body has its own intelligence. And when you learn to tap into it, you have a clear path to life. It's like, and not what is right for somebody else, but what is right for you.
And you feel it. And I do, and listen, I'll say I do that breathing morning and night. And in the mornings, I'm laying on the beach and I'm in no blanket or anything, just me, my head on the sand, and I'm doing the breathing. And I'm making sure, since the first time I did it with you both, I always really kind of just push sometimes. Like I push my stomach out and I push my chest up and then I go, ah. And really, I always think about the visual of the golden balloon in my stomach filling up and gently that air coming to my chest and then just moving naturally out of my throat into sound is the way that I found. It's what you guys said, but I found that when I come back to that, then I get my body. When I posture, like you said, Jonathan, it just doesn't do anything. It's more stress. So I would always, that's a disclaimer, is like everyone just do it gently. Let the body do it.
Allow the breath to do it. The breath to pull your belly up. It's not about pushing your belly out. It's about allowing the breath to slowly open you up.
And be gentle on yourself when you first do this because it's actually a little bit tricky. You know,
nobody
it's
knows
like,
how to breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
We spent like a whole session before just helping someone breathe.
Half of our session, we were on the floor teaching me how to breathe again.
But what happens when you do that? You're moving past the conscious mind into the subconscious, right? Your body is opening up, your mind's opening up. And then what you fill it up with after that sticks, right? So there's so many directions you can take it. There's something called like hyper learning or Tony Robbins calls it the peak state, right? And so when you get to that place, you can learn, you can create, you can do things so much faster because you're in your zone, right? Flow state, right? All being connected, all of those things, they're all trying to get to that same place. And you don't need an hour and a half to meditate and to do whatever. Sometimes you can do an hour and a half of meditation and feel terrible afterwards. But once you know what it feels like and you can tap back in, 5 or 10 minutes on the beach, boom, you're ready for your day, you're in it.
And it's crazy because that flow state really open. Like one time after the breathing, I got up and I was like, okay, I feel good, I feel grounded. I'm walking on the beach and then I had an influx of Twitter posts that I want to put up that are inspiration. 7 of them.
Because you opened up.
I put on my notepad immediately because I opened up. Whereas one would be like, okay, how do I say this? There was no how do I say it. It's like, this is how it's going to be said because there's no other way that I can say it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because when we're in the flow state, work becomes more efficient. Because you sort of just know how to flow. You know what you want to put out there.
It's almost like it's coming to you.
Exactly.
It's almost like it was there all along, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh. And you just it's like picking fruits out of the air, right?
Right.
And this is what, like Nikola Tesla talks about this, Einstein talks about this. There's that place, when you go there, there's so much in that realm. That's where they got all these crazy theories and like understanding electricity and waves and all that stuff. Like, it's always been there. They just got themselves to a place where they could grab it.
The way I believe it scientifically is you tap into a quantum sea of infinite inspiration, infinite ideas. You're just tapping into the infinite that is you. And for me, the best artists, the best scientists, the best everyone out there are the people who bringing to the world those things through them. It's really just open and channeling.
And they almost all say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like hard to take credit for it because it just came.
Yeah, it just came.
You know?
I believe Einstein was talking about one of his greatest breakthroughs was when he was like in the middle of the night, he woke up and he was just hit him. Because he wasn't just stressing about what he has to do during the day. He was completely open, and it was like, oh, of course. What other way could it be? We had a really powerful scientist. His name's Ian Mitchell. He was on the show. And he told me one of his, same thing, he woke up in the middle of the night when he realized how to make concrete 40% less emitting of carbon for greenhouse. He's just out of nowhere, he's like, oh, this is how you do it, of course. Same thing with like how to like help people with cancer. Of course, he's like in meditation, he's like, this is, of course. It comes in those moments and I'm just so in awe of it.
And here's the thing too, like I feel like people are forcing being in meditation a lot of the time and they're not getting the benefit of it because they're trying to meditate. They're just like, I know I'm supposed to do this. I know this is where I get all the answers, but I'm just going to sit here and fidget the whole time and hate myself because I'm not getting there. And that's not effective. If that's not working for you, you have to find a way to tap into your body before you do that. That breath work moves right past that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's so much more effective sometimes to tap into your breath and do that work that we taught you because you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
The moment you start
like
thinking, you're done.
Yeah, I'll actually breathe, then I'll journal. Because I know that the truth is going to come out when I'm back in my body and out of my logical mind of thinking, I think this is it. Let me journal about it. One thing that we mentioned here is the coming back to the body and asking what it needs. And believe it or not, it's real. I know I'm not preaching. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but like I'll ask sometimes. I'll put my hand on my chest because it's super tight. Sometimes I'll be like, "What do you need?" Immediately, it's like a hug. And we went over this, and it's like, okay, hug from who? And it's like you. I was like, wow, this is cheesy and corny, and I'm just gonna give myself a hug, and I bet you it's not gonna work. And then I do it, and I'm like, that was really nice. And actually, when we spoke last time on our Zoom, that day was, it's interesting, we have like maybe once or twice a year days where it's like, it's gonna explode. And that day, whatever could have gone wrong on paper went wrong on that Wednesday that we spoke a few weeks ago. And I felt like something was going to tear out of my chest. It was so much pressure. I felt incredible. And then on the call, I put my hand on my chest and you had asked me, what do you feel? And I said, a hug. He said, give yourself a hug. I go, okay, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And you know what's crazy? That pressure went down about 70% and never came back the next day, the day after, the day after. Literally me being on a Zoom call with you both and hugging myself. And
it sounds so stupid sometimes,
it does.
but it's just the simplicity of it is just like, that's not possible. But it is. It's like you're giving yourself what you need, and what you need is not fireworks a lot of the time, it's simple things.
Yeah.
And where did we learn to not trust our bodies? Our bodies are brilliant. They're really incredible machines that we don't understand the potential of. We're just now starting to, we love a lot of Joe Dispenza's work because we feel like he's taking a lot of that stuff in Tantra and in spirituality, and he's telling you, oh, the vasopressin and the things that are happening to make your heart expand and then your blood flow and then you get these feelings and it feels like love and the oxytocin. Like he's putting science to what,
He's
shamans
backing up all of this stuff.
Yeah, and
spirit,
spiritual people have known, and we celebrate that, right? Because the more science dives into the human body and into this experience, the more it's opening up into greater and greater possibilities. Like they used to think space was just empty, and now they know it's the quantum field and it's all connected, and you can do something over on this side of the world and it affects that side of the world.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
At the same moment too, and it's incredible how connected everything is. Before we wrap up, I really want to, there's a lot of people I know listening and viewing because I'm extrapolating my experience to everyone else, but and also the people that come through your doors. What are some practices we can do, I'm sure breathing is one, to better our sexual connection with our partner? Because a lot of us, maybe there's women out there going, okay, my partner is completely detached from sex, and it's not like he comes from work and it's like, this is how it is. Or a lot of men are, I want to open up during sex, but I can't. I'm scared of the intimacy. Or I don't know how to receive, or a woman doesn't know how to receive. What are some of the things we could do just practically before sex?
Okay.
What came to your mind?
Yeah, the one of my favorite things that we do as a couple is when we wake up at the same time, because he usually sleeps in later. But either when he wakes up together with me or at night before we fall asleep, we put our foreheads together and take 5 breaths together, the 5 belly breaths. So inhaling and then doing it audibly so we can hear each other. Those 5 breaths completely transform you because you feel connected to your partner. And you can do this with your eyes open, with your eyes closed, but as long as you're taking that moment to connect. And we tell this to all of our couples that come to see us. It's like, this is the best way to connect to each other before you start your day and at the end of the day. So you're already connected to them.
When I think about a couple, I think about two individuals choosing to share intimacy together. So where I start is, let's say, with yourself, right? So for men, how can you self-pleasure in a way that brings consciousness, right? Not just rushing to get through it, not just watching porn to get off or whatever, but really being with yourself and cultivating positive sexual experience with yourself. And then for the women or for someone with a vagina, how can you slow down and take time out of your day for yourself?
Mm-hmm. And that's really hard for women to do because we're always taking care of everyone.
Yes, in our experience, we've seen that definitely to be the problem. Oh, I don't have any time for me. I've got the kids, I've got work, I've got my husband, I've got my boyfriend, whatever. And so if you two as individuals can slow down and find time for yourself and cultivate that energy, then when you're coming together, you'll know what direction you want to take it, right? Instead of outsourcing your pleasure, oh, we have sex when she's in the mood or whatever. Well, what if she's never in the mood? Mm-hmm. But if she's taking the time for herself and she's getting turned on, you'll feel that.
Also, why is she not in the mood? A lot of the time it's because you're getting rushed into sex before you're ready. So how can you slow down initiating sex and connecting to each other on an emotional level? You know, you said there's a fear there. Why don't we talk about that fear? Mm-hmm. Why don't we talk about the desires? What do we want out of the session? Let's make some sort of intention of how we want to connect in this session, and then talking about it afterwards.
Yeah, so starting with self. And then, like she said, if those conversations come up, or don't be afraid to talk about your sexuality, don't be afraid to talk about problems, don't be afraid if you're angry at your partner because she never wants to have sex. Like, say something about it because it opens, it might be hard at first, but it's going to open up to deeper intimacy. And then the other thing I would say that is actually a game changer, schedule daytime sex. Mm-hmm. So many people leave sex for the end of the day. Some people like to do it in the morning first thing or whatever. If that's your thing, cool, then celebrate that. But a lot of people are leaving our best energy times of the day for work or for, whatever else, but sex. So if you can, just schedule it in the afternoon, put it on the calendar, because then you are committing to and making space around that time. Dim the lights, pull the curtains, light some candles, put on a good playlist, put some intention into it, and see if you can start to develop a new association, a new connection with sex. Mm-hmm. Daytime sex is a game changer. Like, it's one of our favorite things to do, and we put it in the calendar. Mm-hmm. We're all busy people. We have tons of stuff to do, but you're not too busy to have pleasure in your life and to connect with your partner who you're living with.
That's the move.
Yeah.
And I really resonate with that because sometimes it's difficult. Come the end of night, you have a full day worth of stress.
You're exhausted.
And you're just done. Yeah. And then you mean to tell me I got to take an hour and 10 minutes to put on the lights and the music and do a full massage and breathe into it? Great, that sounds nice, but I just kind of want to sleep.
Yeah. And so does she.
And so does she.
Right? And you're both like, but we should do this. Maybe I'll do it for him, or I'll do it. And
that's the problem.
It's weird. It's like it's not the best going into it, so it doesn't usually end that well.
And basically the whole theme of what we talked about this entire time is opening the door to that kind of sexuality that's very conscious will actually heal you, because in speaking about those fears, you start to tackle all the fears in your life. Mm-hmm. And your partner becomes this beautiful, beautiful mirror to yourself and to loving yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not even about them in that moment. It's like, oh my God, they're holding space for me to be me, and that's very healing. You heal in the present.
I'm going to say sexual healing is the most powerful of healing of all forms of life, right? Like, I can do my intentions and rituals and all these things, but if my sex life is a mess, then it's still always going to be there. I find that once you have, it's right in the middle and all the things are branching out of it, right? Because that's the deepest form of union and intimacy and looking at yourself and vulnerability. Like literally that's going out of the survival into deeper parts of you. Oh yeah, and by the way, it's with your partner who you love and connect with. That is like the most sacred thing in the world. What's more sacred than
Doesn't get any closer to you than
Exactly. So that's the power. And look at it. On top of that, you two are bringing that to the world. This is your damn jobs. What a gift that you two are for humanity. You have a course coming out. And this is going to be the bomb course. I'm going to do it myself. What's the name of the course? What's in it?
Well,
and how do we get it? And when can we get it?
It's called Awaken the Goddess.
Awaken
you can
the
do
Goddess.
it too.
Okay. Well, I got a goddess in me somewhere too.
You can do it too. It's all about people with vaginas, so they can learn about their bodies, and so they can learn about their pleasure and how they can release tension or trauma from their bodies and tap into that goddess, to your inner self that's been buried for so long.
And the way we approach things is more holistically, right? So a lot of times people are like, give me the good stuff. You know, what's the secret? What's the tips? What's the tricks? Because I want to experience this stuff. But it's like having a full glass and saying like, I want more. You're like, well, there's not really that much room for it. So what do you need to do? You need to dump out what's already there. And now we've got a whole glass that we can fill up. And then we can even grow the container.
I'll learn all of that stuff you built for so many years. Take that out and put the good stuff in. Put the stuff you actually want. And it takes a little bit at the beginning. But once you do that, your whole life transforms.
Okay. So I can't do the course, but I have a lot of female friends who I'm going to sign them up. There's a lot of female listeners who can sign up. And I'm waiting for the masculine one. I'm ready for that one.
Yeah, that's coming.
Working on it.
I'm ready for that one. How do all of my community and friends and family, how do we access the course? Where do we get it?
You can go to our website, thelovegurusla.com, and then you can go under online courses, and we have the course link right there. And we're going to do a special discount code for your viewers.
Love that.
10% off. Code is Heal Thyself.
Perfect.
Right? Very
It's how appropriate. And the Instagram, you guys, Instagram.
The Love Gurus LA.
I love it. Everybody go follow.
And dude, the Instagram is a wealth of knowledge. We have, probably 500 plus posts on there, each like deep relationship stuff, life stuff.
Yeah.
So if you go back through, like there's a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone go check that out. What an honor it is to have you both. Like I said, it's not often that I have healers on my show, my own personal ones, but now I got two of them who are speaking the most truth. And like we said, sexual healing is the root of so much for our lives and what we can become of ourselves. And you both are doing it for a living, and I love that. Thank you both for being here. I cannot wait to have you back. We'll have another conversation at some point this year. But for now, thank you so much.
And thank you for creating this amazing container and for all the work that you've been doing in the world. We're blessed to have met you and gotten to work with you as well.
Amen. There you go. Love Gurus.